We have seen earlier that 75% of the world population belong to the category of strong believers in some religion or other. According to the percentage of strength, I must say Christians are about 30%, Muslims are about 28 or 25%, Hindus about 15%, Buddhists are about 10% or 8%. They are spread mostly from east to west, or like from west to east, in fact. There are about few small religions like Judaism, Zoroastrianism, and then Jainism. We have Sikhism. Then we have Shintoism in Japan, Tamilism in Tamil Nadu. All these are small religions, but they have their own ideology, well-defined way of life. We will not go into the detail into any of them. What is important is each religion has certain very strong faith in certain strong ideologies. We should take one by one and try to look at them from a scientific perspective of view. First thing we must take is the Western religion. The earliest of them is the Judaism, and then it came Christianity, and then came Islam. Now the point is, in all the three religions, people are buried after death because they would be risen from the death and taken to a day of judgment, to the place of God, and then some of them would be judged as good, some bad. Those who are good would be sent to heaven where milk and honey flow, and some of them, others, would be sent to hell where there will be a roasting fire. This is the day of judgment and the punishment of heaven and hell. From scientific point of view, all those things are childish, puerile fictions. There is no resurrection or recombination of life with dead body. Remember, in Hinduism only there is a soul. Here there is no soul. In Western religion, no such thing as soul. In Western religion, new life will be put into the dead body, risen up at the end of the world, and they would be punished according to what they have done in the life on the earth. All those things are utter simplest, utter very child story. I don't want to be more harsh than this. They don't exist. On the other hand, we can interpret the same thing in a different fashion in the modern world. Judgment, day of judgment, is done on the day of death of anybody. I give you an example, then you would be able to appreciate it. You know Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi was a very tall leader, very inspiring leader. He was a man of utter non-violence. In spite of all these things, he was shot dead. On the day of death, you would have heard about, you would have seen in the newspaper that millions of the world, or people all over the world, cried bitterly. They stood frozen for some time. They felt they have lost their brother or father or a guru or a disciple. That's a shock that went through as rumors, as tremors throughout the world. Even Einstein said the following expression: the world would hardly believe that such a person like Mahatma Gandhi ever lived and walked on this earth. That's a great eulogy he made. Not only him, the whole world lost their brother or a father or a friend. The whole world was crying in bitterness because of the loss of Mahatma Gandhi. That becomes the day of judgment, because Mahatma Gandhi has lived well and died well. This is one example. The other extreme example is Hitler. He had lived as a cruel man, killing hundreds and thousands of Jews. When he died, people said in big relief, oh, at last, this cruel man, the dictator, also is dead. It's a big relief to the world. Not only him, another cruel dictator, Mr. Idi Amin, came in Africa. He was also horrible. And when he died also, the same kind of judgment came. Such a cruel man also is at last dead. That the kind of judgment these two dictators got. Now, from this, I would say the day of judgment is the day when the people feel strongly for you, crying for you, feeling miserable for you, feel frozen in time, then you have reached the heaven. The other curse that you give to a very bad man is a day of judgment when he is going to the hell. Now let us take up the most important concept or ideology that has hovering around the heads of every Hindu or every Buddhist or every Jain, particularly the Eastern religion, including Sikhism also. In all this, we believe that we have a cycle of birth, not only one birth, many births. Out of so many births, this human birth, human life is only one such birth. Then what it means is, if in the last birth I had been a good man, I had been a kind man, or well, let's say, if I had been born as a dog in the last birth, if I had been very nice dog, loyal dog, I would be raised to the level of man, and that is how I was born as a man. Now I'm talking to you. If I make misuse of this life, defying every rule, everything, I would die and become a dog or a cat or a snake or anything in the next life. This is what we call reincarnation, cycle of birth. This is something very inherent in the whole of Indian religion, whatever name you give. It is very strange, even a very rationalist Thiruvalluvar has got this idea. Buddha also has got into this cycle. Jain also got into this cycle. Now, why I am citing Buddha is, of all the religious head, he is the most compassionate, gentle person and most rationalistic, who never spoke about God. He said, this is a good life and try to live as best as you can, helping and being kind to others. That's all what he said. Now, even him got into the mess of cycle of birth. Now, let us give a very neat explanation from a scientific point of view. Imagine, from the beginning we had been saying that the whole world was born 13 billion years ago, and it evolved over many years, and eventually through many cycles of errors and mistakes, many plants, many types of hundreds and thousands of animal species, fishes, reptiles, cats and dogs, lion and tiger, so many animals and so many plants. All these living systems are part of the ecosystem, and out of this, man became only one particular life. Now, when a man became a man, where did he get all the material? He got all the material from the atoms and molecules that were left by the dying tree or dying animal. Not only that, when a man dies, when I die, what would happen to me? I would just go into the earth and decompose into atoms and molecules. Some of the atoms and molecules could become a snake or a rat or a cat or a big tree, or it can become another Einstein, another Tagore, another great scientist. We don't know. because the total mass is a constant. Total energy is also a constant. This is very well known in science for centuries ago, for 200 years ago. When Einstein came, he just made one small twist. He said the totality of mass and energy is a constant, so that mass can be occasionally converted into energy, and the energy can be very, very rarely converted into mass also. This is clear. That means eventually I was born out of the earth and I will go back into the earth. What I will become later, I don't know. What I was there, also I don't know. I may have been in some life. I may become another life in next after my death. We don't know. So this makes the confusion about birth cycle. But from scientific point of view, this is the correct approach, correct perspective of birth cycle. I must now touch upon, at least in passing, about the significance of soul. Remember, mind is abstract. The mental activity is done by the brain. A part of the brain is very analytical. Another part of the brain is mostly creative. When I count money in the bank transaction, I use my analytical part of the brain. When I write poetry, I use the creative part of my brain. What I do with the soul? The soul is meant to jump from one body to another body. When somebody is dead, his soul is to jump from one and get reincarnated somewhere else. That's the only function of soul so far known in the Eastern philosophers or Eastern religious people. It does not exist for Western philosophers or Western religious people. Now, since there is no second birth for anybody or any living things, there is no such thing as soul. Half the part of Bhagavad Gita, which delves so deeply on the soul, has no present day significance, unfortunately.